All right, welcome to part one of our session on expressions. And expressions are a really great feature in Lightwave and extremely powerful. And in this first lesson, I want to get into the nuts and bolts of working with expressions. And I mean at the very most basic level. Now, some of the stuff, in order to completely get it, it would help to have an understanding of the graph editor, and we will cover that in another lesson. But let's just talk about the nuts and bolts. We're going to skip some of the graph editor stuff and skip straight to this tab here at the bottom marked expressions. And this is where we create an expression. And the way expressions work are you create them. Well, let's back up just one second. What's an expression before we even talk about that? What an expression is it's a little mathematical formula. It always delivers a number that you use to modify a channel. What's a channel? Let's not take anything for granted. What a channel is something that you can animate independently. Every one of these up here, heading, pitch, and bank for the cow, you know, X, Y, and Z position, X, Y, and Z scale, these are all channels. The camera has channels. And light intensity, anything you can animate separately is a channel. That's the way to think of it. So what an expression is it's a numeric formula that you use to modify a channel. In other words, you use it to change a channel in some way. And the way it works is first we make an expression, and then we apply it to a channel. And it's really that straightforward. But let's click on the New button, which is how we make a new expression. That's quality training right there. New makes a new expression. And there's two parts to an expression. There's the name and there's value. And the name is a completely arbitrary thing. It could be anything. Express2 is fine. I could call it, you know, Billy Bob, or I could call it test. Anything, it doesn't matter. And value, this is the value part here. This is the mathematical expression. So before we go any further, I want you to know how to tell whether an expression works or not. And when I say works, what do I mean? I could mean a couple things. I could mean, does the expression actually do anything at all? Does it have a basic level of functionality where it actually does something? That's one level. The second level is, does it do what I want it to do? Now, that's a tougher one, and we'll get to that. But let's just talk about the base level, how to tell whether an expression works or not. I'll just type in clearly gibberish, hit the enter key, and I can tell that this doesn't work because the validate button is lit up right here. When an expression works, and I'll just type in the number 0 and hit enter, this works. Now, will it do what I want? I have no idea. But it's working because the validate button isn't lit. So anytime the validate button is not lit up, it works. In other words, there's a basic level of functioning. It may not do what you want, but it works. And when you see the validate button, that means that it's not working. Now, in previous versions of Lightwave, previous to 7.5, when you would type in something that was gibberish or incorrect, a useless error message would pop up. An error message would pop up and basically tell you something like, when I say it's useless, what I mean by that is it wouldn't give you any useful information you could do anything with. It would say something like, expression not valid, found question mark, looking for exclamation point, or something like that. And now what you see is it doesn't, that would just pop up by default. Now in 7.5 and 7.5c, the newest version, when the validate button pops up, you click on it, and then the useless error message pops up. That's very helpful. Unknown symbol in expression. Thanks. Which one? So basically, I never click the validate button because it just leads to misery and woe, and I don't have time for that. So the validate button tells you when it's lit, it's not working. When it's unlit, it's working. And when it's, so 12, that works. No validate button. Now, again, this won't do what we want, but let's talk about some expressions and just play along at home and tell me whether they work or not by seeing the validate button. I said before that this is a formula, and if you're not a math person, I don't want you to get intimidated by that. When I say formula, really all I mean is the math you need here is pretty straightforward. So let's take a look at this. Here's 2. Is this going to work or not? And the answer is yes, it will, because the validate button is not lit up. Here we go again. Let's try another one. 1 plus 1. Yep, that works. How about 1 minus 2? Yep, that works. How about 4 times 2? Yep. You see we do multiplication with an asterisk. That's the Shift 8 key there. Let's try 5 divided by. We do the backslash for divided by 2. Yep, that works. So far, no validation. Let's try another one. 6 minus 2. Hey, wait a minute. What happened there? Okay, take a look. The validate button is on. So why didn't this work? And the answer is that, okay, that's the number 5. Do we all agree on that? If you don't, by the way, stop watching this video now because you, in fact, don't know enough math to go on. But if you agree that that's a 5, then you will also agree that this is a negative 5. And you notice negative numbers work. The problem on that last one, right, it's 6 minus 3 or whatever I put in, is that it's not going to work. It's not validated because the numbers are all bunched up here. See how the 6 is right next to the minus, which is right next to the 3? So that means that the way Lightwave sees this is not 6 minus 3, but 6 negative 3, all bunched together. Now if we put spaces in, 6 still doesn't work because now it's 6 negative 3 right next to each other. We need an operator in there. How about 6 plus negative 3? Hey, that works. Or 6 space minus space 3 space. That works. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, first off, you might be thinking to yourself, you just saw something flash on your screen. That was an optical illusion. Don't back up. That was just something on my computer that popped up. It was warning me about something. So no, it wasn't an optical illusion. You're not crazy. But what happened there was, not the thing that flashed on the screen. You might be thinking to yourself, well, let's get back to the expressions part. You might be thinking, okay, well, the expression engine seems pretty finicky. It seems like you have to type in things exactly right. And let me point out that you are completely correct. You have to type in things exactly right. If you do not type in things the right way, it simply won't work. And so what we've learned is these simple math operations, plus, minus, asterisk for multiplication, slash for division. When I say slash, I mean the key under the question mark key. Negative numbers, these are the basic math things. Now, most of the problems that you're going to have is typing things wrong. And even when you're doing things like you're trying to reference an expression, you have to be very, very careful. For instance, if I want to have have an expression that references the camera's position on Z, I have to type it in exactly right, and I have to type it in these brackets. Now, really, there's two kinds of notation for expressions, and we'll talk about that at a later point. For right now, as far as you're concerned, there's only one type of notation. It's called brackets notation. I type in bracket, and then I have to type this in exactly as it shows here. Camera dot position dot Z bracket, and then I hit enter. And first off, the validate button's lit up. That means this didn't work. And the problem here is, the reason this didn't work is because, look, position is dot capital P there, and it's a small p here. And then I go back, so I fix this, so it's exactly the same. Then I hit enter again, and it still doesn't work. And this will make you want to punch a programmer in the head right here. The reason it doesn't work is because of those little arrows that point out where the problem is. Oh man, that'll kill you. But you see the point here. Now it works. So you have to type in things exactly, perfectly right. Capitalization counts, everything counts, or it won't work. Now the other option, rather than doing this, is you could right-click and pick Append to Expression, and that's a little quicker. Now, okay, you're probably asking yourself, why didn't you show me that first? And the reason why is the point that I'm making here is that typing counts. And even on something like this, obviously, right-click append to expression is the right way to do things, but I want to show you that your typing does count, because if you were to go in and accidentally erase a letter, it's not going to work. The validate button is going to pop up. So let's review what we've done in this lesson. And the answer is absolutely nothing. We haven't done a single solitary thing. The whole point of this lesson is to give you the nuts and bolts so you can tell when something works, you can tell when something isn't going to work. And now that you have that knowledge, I want to point out one other neat little thing that helps you a lot when you're working in expressions. And the problem is that it's very hard to see what's going on here. The text is very small. If I had a wish for Lightwave 8, I would make this text about 3 or 4 times bigger, ridiculously stupid big, just so I could see exactly what's going on. But I don't have to wait for Lightwave 8, and by the way, I'm not saying it's going to be in Lightwave 8. I said I hope. So I don't take that as a secret clue. But there is a utility, and you can see my menu. Under accessories, you can't see what's over to this side, but under accessories, accessibility, there's this thing called a magnifier. The magnifier is kind of your friend. It's designed to help people with slight vision impairment be able to see, but when it comes to expressions, we all have slight vision impairment. And this is included in Windows XP. I think something like this might be in 2000 or earlier, but if you're still using Win2K, you might want to consider updating. Let me show you the way this works. I'm going to say follow text editing. And follow keyboard focus. And I'll exit out of there. Oops, didn't want to exit, sorry, didn't want to exit out of there. Let's run that again. There it goes. So anyway, because it's following the text, you'll see the cool thing that it does is that I can actually read if you look at the top of the screen. If you can't see that, you're in trouble. That's all I'll say. Perhaps you shouldn't be doing graphics for a living, but you see the idea. So that magnifier utility makes your life quite a bit easier, and there's probably an equivalent thing on the Macintosh as well, but I'm running a Windows system, so I can tell you what's in Windows. But that's another quick hint. So this sort of ends section 1, the nuts and bolts of working with expressions.